Welcome back to another session of Network is My Net Worth. You're here with Rel Purnell and also J Hall Agent, and we talking about mortgage. So this is a good one for y'all home buyers and also home sellers. So let's kick it off from the top, man. Look, it's December. Last December and the year before that, we had the yearly check-in, man. So let's start with the yearly check-in. December. Last
Okay,
December rates was around what, 3? And now they're around
they
7,
between
8,
between 3 and 4, and right now, yeah, they high sixes, mid sevens right now.
mid sixes, mid sevens. What are you telling people to do today? Because it seems like
So
it's still going up.
yeah, for sure. The biggest conversation, well, first off, let me give a 30-second year over year. So the biggest changes is 12 months ago, you would have spent a lot more money to get a home, right? Like 12 months ago. But now you're not going to spend as much, but the rate is higher. And what I try to explain to clients is that the
Mhm.
real estate market is never set up for everything you want to fall in the way that you want it to fall. What I mean by that is, like, from a real estate perspective, if the rates are up, prices are going to be down. If prices are up, rates are going to be down. There's never going to be this unicorn scenario where you're going to get rates at the level that you need it to be, and you want the exact pricing you want. Like, it's just not it's not going to happen that way. And I know that it's frustrating sometimes to buyers because they would want it, they want both of them at the same time. But the main core of my message is get control of the asset. And what I mean by this, I talked about this in a session we did maybe 2 months ago. Get the house and lock it in at its current price. Because the one thing you can ensure right now is that you're getting the home at a fair price. You can fix the interest rate later. You can't fix the price later. So you can refinance it at the price that you want it to be at and get the payment down to make it better for you, but you have to get the asset. And we don't know, there's a million real estate shows out here and all that good stuff. None of them are going to tell you the specifics about the changes that are happening from a rate perspective because, to be completely honest with you, nobody knows. And there's a lot of people that make a lot of money by telling people and leading them to believe that they know, but they don't. So you got to pull the trigger. You got to make the move. Last answer to this before we move to your next question is also in the era of down payment assistance or getting financial help to purchase your home, some of that help runs out. So the faster you buy your home, the faster the information is available for you, or the funds are available for you to be able to make your purchase. And that's what you need to be able to do that because you can get ready and you can wait forever. And then when it comes time for you to buy your home and a program you was interested in using to buy your home says, we don't have no funding.
Interesting,
What,
interesting. So have you
what do you do
seen
then?
that in your have you seen programs run out of money so far?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I think so especially during the heat of COVID, it happened a lot because they would do a lot of loans. What some of these programs are doing is they're decreasing the amount that they used to give as a means of trying to stretch the money out. But the biggest confusion that people have is that it's first come, first serve. Like folks assume folks assume that, because they indicate, hey, I'm buying a house. Then the in turn assumption is, well, since I'm buying a house, I'm guaranteed to get the money. No, you have to be under contract. That's the key. So if me and you both get with a lender and we're supposed to get $5,000 from this particular program, and I find my house first, you can't go back and say, yo, me and Jason applied at the same time. They're gonna say, no, Jason's under contract, right? So it the struggle is that we have so many different down payment assistance programs, but not all of them have consistent funding. And some of the frustration that folks have when they're buying houses is because, everybody talks to each other. So one person might get $1 amount, another person gets another dollar amount, but there's no context of the factors that determine why one person got more. So the faster that you can make your decision, pull the trigger, and I'll end this question with this. One of my, I'd say end of year, yes, it was an end of year client from last year, Miss Harrison, who bought a house with me. This is a woman who I know personally, who wasn't supposed to buy till this year. And we had some conversations, and she just was like, I don't know. And, her dad had a conversation with her in passing and was like, your thought process around waiting doesn't make sense. And I think that's what opened her mind to taking this quote unquote shot with me. So she finds what she wants. She buys. Once a month, she'll DM me on IG or she'll text me, yo, I'm so glad I listened. I'm so glad I listened. Because if I had to buy that place, I had to buy this place now, I wouldn't have been able to afford it. And that's the thing. You can spend your time right now worrying about the deal that other people got last year. Or you can be somebody next year that's thinking, if I would have bought last year, I would be in a better situation. So if you let the FOMO corrupt you, you're going to end up in the same situation as a lot of other folks who didn't do it last
year. That's a fact. That's a fact. All right. So, we're talking a lot about the process. Run me through quickly the home buying process. So, here I am. Look, hey, J Hall agent, I'm looking to buy a home. Run down the steps quickly as far as like what are the process? What do people should expect? Like, how do they prepare for buying a house?
All right. So the first step, and this is my personal first step, you got to come with an open mind. Any preconceived assumptions, leave it at the table. The next step is then having a discussion about your credit. Credit matters. Can you get a house with some things on your credit? Yes. But having a conversation so you can be led to the best lender that's going to assist you. I say that because every lender ain't the same. There's some lenders that are amazing when it comes to folks that are close to buying a house, but they aren't quite ready, that will take the time to analyze your credit profile, tell you what's wrong, help you to fix it, and then help you to buy a house. But you got to be willing to take the steps and to do the work. Then the next step is setting realistic expectations. Like what I try to do with my clients is have them make a written list, not a mental list, but a written list of the top 10 things that they value in a home. And then what I surprise them with is, okay, now tell me what 3 you want to take off. Because in many cases, they're not going to be able, in this kind of market, for whatever price range they're in, very rarely are you able to get 10 out of 10. Okay, so if you can't get 10 out of 10, what are the 7 that you feel like matters? And then the last thing on lending is finding a lender that does in-depth pre-approvals. So in the mortgage business, man, you can go on Quicken.com or any random lending website and put your information in, and someone will give you a pre-approval. But in this market, to get a house and to make it to the settlement table, you need someone that's going to look at all your paperwork, all your documents, and your credit before you even get a letter. So that by the time you find the house you want, you don't have the additional anxiety because the bank is saying, we have already overly scrutinized your situation. So just give us a few, updated documents, that correspond with the timeline, and we can get this done for you. As opposed to the separate option is you get some random BS nonsense approval, and then midway you figure out that either you can't do it or there are 50 things that you got to try to do in a 1 or 2 week timeline to not lose your house. And then the last step is being prepared for what you're going to do about your closing costs. It costs money to buy a home. Nothing is free, but there are programs that are out there, but you have to be honest. I understand that, one of the biggest issues I get is folks listening to people who bought homes a long time ago. In this era in 2022, there is no free money. That's why we don't call them grants anymore. We call them down payment assistance programs, because The name tells you everything you need to know. They are there not to give you free money, but to assist you with your down payment. And many of them are going to have caveats about you have to pay it back or you got to keep your house for a certain period. Understand your situation. Save as much money as you can. And if you save as much money as you can, maybe you don't need to take those programs if you don't like the terms, right? But if you don't have any money, then that is your option, along with entertaining the idea of maybe getting some money from a seller, so on and so forth. So that to keep it succinct for the viewers, it's analyzing your credit, meeting an agent, analyzing your credit, getting connected with the right lender, identifying the right home, and then while you're doing that, making sure that you have a proper plan in place to address the closing costs that are needed to purchase a home. And to eliminate the myth out there, this isn't 1980. You don't need 20% down to purchase a home. There are programs where you can put down as low in many cases 3 or 3.5% to buy a house. And that's why my first step is always come with an open mind, because a lot of the stress just comes from outside noise that you're hearing as a buyer.
Yeah, speaking of the 80s, man, the interest rates was like in the teens in the 80s, man. I heard it was
100%.
crazy. Well, I mean, it probably wasn't crazy because that was the norm then, but looking back at it, like, golly, but I'm sure the price points were a lot lower too.
100%. I mean, and same thing, like, we've been spoiled with this whole COVID thing. It's hard for me to, like, people say stuff like rates are going up. Rates are not going up. The world is going back to where we were before COVID. I think the thing that people have to understand is that COVID was just a one-off blip on the radar. The way I look at it is, think of it from this perspective. As a retail consumer, Black Friday is once a year, right? You don't run around the other 364 days a year expecting that you're going to get Black Friday prices on the goods that you're buying, right? But in real estate, we don't acknowledge that. We look at it like, well, I mean, rates are low, so they should be low forever. Nah, it's not a game goes. That's why there's an incentive for you to be savvy enough, as an adult, to analyze the real estate market, the stock market, and understand what's going on, so that when those waves come, and once again, giving you the same parallel, I know some folks that have apps on their phone, they get the newspaper. When it comes time to buy stuff Black Friday, they know every place where the deal is, how much it costs, what time the store open, and where to go. But if you were to ask them, what are the trends in mortgages? What are the trends telling you that rates are going to do in the next 3 months, and how does that affect you in buying? They would have absolutely no answer. And the people that took advantage of this bubble are the people that watch rates, that watch trends, that say, hey, I don't know how long this is going to last, but man, I should sell my spot real quick because I'm going to hit a lick over here. Or I don't know how long rates are going to last, and I really like my apartment, but I'm about to buy now. Because if I don't buy now, I don't know when I'm going to get a deal like this again. But that comes from paying attention on your personal time. A lot of times for us as consumers, we don't see waves until they've passed.
Mm-hmm.
That's the issue.
So would you say today is a seller's market, a buyer's market? Is it kind of in between? Like what would you say? What are you seeing?
I would say 60-40 buyers right now. Like it's coming back towards a buyer's market, but it's not completely there, because the right house with the right amount of interest in the right neighborhood will give you the same kind of heated battle as you would have had last year. So it's not completely back, but it's on its way. And if you're someone, and this leads me into another great point. I was talking to one of my current sellers, who's under contract now, who posed a question to me before we put the house on the market, like, does it make sense to sell your house when it's cold, right? And what I said to her is, I said that, people that have been in real estate a long time probably tell me I'm crazy. But in my personal opinion, the best time to do real estate business is when it's cold. And that's because
competition, or
it's not a lot of competition, right? it shows internally, in my opinion, that you believe in your product, which is your property that you're selling, because you're willing to do that, right? While the rest of your neighborhood is doing this and that and preparing for May and June and how much money they're going to make and all of that, you're telling the marketplace that, hey, I got a product in my property that I'm selling that I'm willing to stand by, and I'm gonna hit the market with it. And you have to understand, and I think that's the thing as a seller, from a seller perspective, sellers in the COVID market lost the understanding of business, right? They started to think that real estate was the flea market. I can just name whatever, and for a period it was, right? You can just name whatever price, haggle it, say this is what I want. It don't have to be supported by no data, and you get the money. Now we're getting back to a point, which is why I'm saying we're 60% buyers, where if you're selling your house, you got to price it appropriately. I'm putting a house on the market in this next week with some investors I have, and having a conversation with them, which is, a year ago, you could fall into wealth. A year ago, you could buy a house and go to flip it and not know what you were doing, not listen to or heed advice from people that are professionals in the industry, and you could fall into an amazing deal. Now, you
messing
better
up the
price
numbers
it right.
and still make money.
The yield now is not the same. So when you come into it, you can play all of that. I think I should get 30,000 over ask. Okay. In 45 days, when your house is stale, and nobody has interest in it, and now you scrambling and you doing bargain basement discounts, begging people to come see it, you can't complain about why it ain't selling if you ain't going to understand and adhere and take advantage. So to put a bow on your question, I'd say we're leaning buyer's market right now, but not all the way back.
Cool. And prices, are they declining? Are they kind of staying the same? Like what are you seeing as far as that?
I'd say in general, with a buyer's market, prices are gonna always somewhat decline. Now we're still dealing with slight inventory shortages, so they haven't gone bargain basement, because the thing about an inventory shortage, you always, it's basic supply and demand concept. If the demand is high and the supply is low, prices go up, right? So it's somewhat coming down, but I think it's really a listing by listing thing, because you, like I said, you put a house up in the right neighborhood that's starving for inventory or whatever, and it's gonna sell, because that's the other thing from a buyer's vision perspective, right? I think most people assume that someone wakes up and says, just I want to buy a house. A lot of buyers come in with a dedicated plan that they're not willing to waver on. So for example, a buyer might come in and say, I want to live in Rogers Forge, and I want my kid to go to Rogers Forge Elementary. And these are the blocks and neighborhoods that I have to live in order for my kid to go to Rogers Forge Elementary, right? So when that happens, that person is not going to be willing to just buy whatever piece of inventory that comes available, because they want to live in a particular zone, in a specific county, in a specific neighborhood. Those are the situations where pricing will still go. Because if you get 2 or 3 people that say, hey, we all want to be in this neighborhood, and that's the only piece of real estate that's available, even though we're closer to a buyer's market, that house is going to sell for more.
Makes sense, man. Any last gems? Any last tips? Anything that we didn't cover that you think that you might want to touch on as being the real estate expert on this live?
So the I guess last tidbits to close out with is buyers that are not buying homes. You have not bought a home not because of the real estate market, not because rates are high, but because of your limiting beliefs and self-doubt. It's you. It's not the. So the moment that you decide that you want to buy a home, it will make sense, number one. Number two, do your own research and educate yourself. When I'm out and about and I'm in supermarkets, clothing stores, etc., I hear people talk about real estate all the time. And the way those conversations goes is one person is deemed to sound smarter than the other one, which leads them to giving them drastic misinformation. And that person consuming the misinformation and thinking it's fact because they assume that that person is smarter than them. At this point, you got to go and make your own decisions. The way I look at it is, we all grocery shop, right? Would you walk into the supermarket and ask another shopper to pick out the meat that you're going to serve your family?
Nah.
So if that's the case, why are you discussing a major life altering decision with people that don't live in your household? Right? You got to do your own research and due diligence to have an understanding. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. But many people go a long time without achieving their dreams in real estate because they listen to someone else. And when they get the facts, they realize a lot of time was lost. Last thing, for sellers, my message is winter is coming. You can get caught up in what I'm going to sell it for in the spring, what I think rates are going to be. You have to take the emotion out of it. As a seller, I know that this is your home and this is your asset, but it's business. Do not put a bunch of money into your home that you can't get out. Don't wait to sell your home because you think some sort of market boom is coming because somebody with 1 million likes on YouTube told you to wait until then. Because when your house does not sell, none of those people are coming to save you. And I said 60-40 today, but if I were a betting man, I'd say when we're having this conversation in December 2023, we'd be back in a full buyer's market. And some of these buyers, unfortunately, are going to remember how they were mishandled by sellers. So you need to sell now because all of those buyers that were mistreated and sellers didn't want to work with them, now we're getting back to the old days where buyers are saying, I'm only going to pay you this. You're going to fix every single thing I asked for, and you're going to do it because don't nobody else want your house. So sell it now, offload the asset, lick your wounds. If you want to buy another house later or flip a house or whatever, do it another time. But if you keep waiting, musical chair is going to stop and you ain't going to have no chair. That's my message.
Heavy. A lot of gems, a lot of knowledge. Hey Jay, don't leave the live stream. Stay right here. But look, y'all watching Network. It's my net worth with Jay Hall Agent and Rel Purnell. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. We see y'all on the next one. And as I always say, stay positive, stay motivated. Salute.